From Relay FM, this is Connected, episode 168. Today's show is brought to you by Hover, Squarespace, and Eero. My name is Myke Hurley. I am joined by Federico Viticci. Ciao, Federico.
Hello, fellow European Myke Hurley.
Well, we have a date now, so, it's not forever.
Not for long.
Hello, Stephen Hackett.
Hello from the New World.
What's happening
is it
today?
though?
What's happening today? I don't want to talk about any of this anymore. I know, Stephen, you wanted me to report in for follow-up today about my bumper case, my in-case frame. It hasn't arrived yet. It's on the way. I don't know why this seems to be taking an exceedingly long time to arrive.
Handcrafted just for you.
I guess so. But I did want to say that I am now using the silicone case full-time on my iPhone in hopes to try and cure what is my current crippling RSI that I have. Which I am believing is partly due to the way that I was holding the new iPhone. I think there are lots of mitigating factors for this, but I'm thinking it might improve my grip because previously I realized I picked up my iPhone Plus and I picked up my iPhone 10 and I tried to look at the way I was holding them both to try and work out, as well as the multitasking gestures, which I think is part of it, like what else could have changed for me. And I realized that with my iPhone 10, I would hold the phone on both sides and use it, right? So like I would be holding it, gripping it in my hand. But on the Plus, I couldn't do that. So what I used to do is have this I basically just balance the phone in my hand. So what I've done is I've put the silicone case on my iPhone 10. That now makes it too big to grip, so it's kind of imbalancing. I'll report back as if this makes any difference because right now I haven't had any differences. And actually today I haven't touched my iPhone at all because currently it is the devil phone. I think that the thumb swiping up gestures are part of the problem for me, but I think like the overall grip has been bad too. So I'm trying to do some stuff. Otherwise, I will probably be living that assistive touch lifestyle is probably where I have to end up going.
Man.
But I hope, well, I mean, like if I can't use the gestures because of the pain they cause me, what am I going to do? Like, I don't want to not use this phone, so I would at that point just move to assistive touch. I've already set it up and just played with it for a little bit, and whilst it is obviously frustrating, I think I could get used to that. So that's kind of where I am.
Yeah, the thumb swipe up definitely bothers me. I had a lot of tension in my right thumb the first several days. It is getting better. It's still sort of lingering. And like last night, due to a bunch of reasons, I was on my phone for a long time. And by the time I went to bed, I was like, okay, like my hand is bothering me a little bit. But just a lot of new stuff to get used to. But I'm really sorry you're having trouble. I know that's
I'm an extreme case with this right now. Like it's like not just my thumbs, it's my wrists, my elbows, and my whole hands on both hands. I don't know there's a lot of stuff going on, and I think the iPhone is just a part of it. So I'm hoping it will pass. This does happen to me. This isn't the first time that I've had a flare up like this. But unfortunately, the iPhone has kind of been caught in the crossfire. Is what I'm thinking.
I'm sorry, buddy.
That's okay. I can deal with it.
So let's talk about some more reason for pain, both physical and I'm going to say psychological with the new iPhone, and that is the placement of Control Center. We spoke a little bit about this last week, but I finally got around to writing a thing about it, and I included some ideas on maybe how Apple could improve it, including just sticking it in multitasking, which there's some evidence that is what Apple was experimenting with from Mr. Rambo on Twitter. I'm curious what the two of you think about this. Have you gotten used to Control Center being where it is? Is it too far away for you and your hands? How are y'all coming down on this?
So I can use it. I tend to use my iPhone with my left hand. This is something that I didn't pay attention until I got the iPhone 10, but it seems that I'm left-handed just for the iPhone, and with my thumb, I can reach the top right corner, but I also think it's totally wrong, and it should be part of the app switcher. Not exactly as it is on the iPad. I'm not sure if Apple wants to bring some consistency, or if there need to be some differences between the iPhone and the iPad, because I think we're in a strange situation here where for years we've been sort of lamenting the fact that the iPad was copying the iPhone UI, And now we're at the stage where we're kind of wishing that the iPhone was more like the iPad, sort of like the inverse situation. I'm not sure what the best solution is, but I know for sure that swiping down from that tiny corner of the what would be the status bar, it's not definitely the most the best that Apple could do. And the fact that so many people seem to think that it's also not so convenient. I think Apple will definitely change the way that you bring up Control Center. I think it should be part of the app switcher. I think you should be able to swipe up and pause or whatever that Apple prefers to open the standard app switcher. But I think on the right, there should be Control Center. And maybe there could be a way that you swipe up and then immediately go to the left, so you don't need to swipe up, pause, then scroll. There could be like a single smooth gesture. I think there's potential to do that, but I think I can use it, but it should be in a different position.
I think you can. I think that it's very possible to just put it all in the one multitasking screen. Like, the app cards do not need to be as big as they are. Like, it's not required. They could be way smaller, with the icons being a little bit bigger, and then you could have all of the controls just like around the borders. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, Control Center's already like a big puzzle mess right now, which I love, but like that UI is not like mega elegant. It is functional. So
I think we referred to it, back in June as controlled chaos in a way.
Exactly. And so you may as well just put it all in the one screen. Like, it's not great. And it looks like Apple were at least considering something like this, right? Like, as Stephen pointed out, that our good friend Rambo found like a friend of the show is @_inside on Twitter, found like a demo video like from like a tips app or something, where it seemed like originally just doing the swipe up was the first screen that you'd see in multitasking was Control Center. I don't think that's the right way to do it from a UI perspective, but I think that there's a way to combine all of that stuff together. Like, I have gotten used to Control Center being where it is, but I still know I don't like it. Right? Like, I know I know it's the wrong place for it, but
And there's some other possibilities. I talked about you could 3D touch on the home indicator, and maybe it could bring it up. That would also work on the lock screen. So part of this is it's got to work on the lock screen as well. And of course, swipe up is taken on the lock screen to unlock the phone. And so you got to think about both places. But kind of where I left it was it's in the wrong place. I have some other ideas, but I'm not. I think the term I came up with was fancy pants California designer. Like, they're smart people; they can work this out. And from Twitter reactions to the piece, most people agree with us that it's not ideal the way it is now. Some people just mocked me for having small hands or for not giving enough time, whatever. But it's something that I think Apple should address. And but it seems like they're doubling down. So in the new 11.2 developer beta that dropped yesterday, the public beta will probably be out today, there is a little indication on the right ear that Control Center is up there. And 9 to 5, and everyone is reporting this as new, but when you first set up your iPhone 10, the first time you're on the lock screen, you actually get this little indication on the lock screen in the upper right-hand corner. You get the Control Center icon showing you that's where it is. So this isn't completely new. Apple has had a little indication there at the beginning. This seems just to be a little bit different take on it, but they're trying to show people where it is. And I understand that, like, conceptually why it is here, right? You pull down on the little cell service and battery and Wi-Fi little images, and then you get to control those things. Like, conceptually, it's very nice. It's just in the wrong place. It's just hard to reach for a lot of users. So we'll see what Apple does. Right now, it seems like they're just making it more apparent to users who may not know where Control Center went, where it is. But I would hope that they hear the feedback, because it seems pretty universal, or at least the majority of iPhone 10 users I've heard from agree with us.
I don't expect to change in iOS 11.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Because I think there's going to be bigger changes in iOS 12 from a UI perspective anyway, so they'll just wrap it up in there. This new beta, the 11.2 beta 3, also enabled the 7.5 watt Qi charging, which we were talking about either last week or the week before, that there was the ability for Apple to to take advantage of 7.5 watt charging rather than the 5 watt charging that they're currently using from Qi chargers. So supported devices, I think all of the two that Apple are selling, the Mophie Wireless and the Belkin Boost Up, they will work with this. So I think there has to be some pairing between them. And Apple said that they would enable it in software, and it looks like 11.2 will get that. So you can do the faster charging via the 7.5 watt method if you have one of the supported chargers once this drops.
Yeah, and if you don't, it's a little confusing. So I've got one of the Samsung one out here in my office, and it supports fast charging on Android phones, and it's. I mean, assuming it would work on the phone. I don't know. I guess when the new public beta comes on, I'll see if I've noticed it to be any faster. But the Mophie I have inside definitely will. So I'm excited about that. But even at 5 watts, like just out here, like on the desk, it's it's fine. But it'd be nice to be faster when you need it.
This is still not the maximum wattage that phones can do, though, right? Like the Android phones do 15, but it looks like the iPhone 10 is going to max, and I guess the 8 as well will max out at 7.5.
15 for Qi charging on Android.
Yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah. That's what you get the Samsung phones or whatever, and they just charge up mega quickly. That's because nice. It takes the 15 watt,
which is still not USB-C power delivery speed or power wattage, but it's nice. I mean, I considered putting the beta back on my iPhone. Again, I used to have the beta on my iPad and the iPhone. Then I kind of went back to the stable one because I had some issues with the dock on iOS 11. And I considered today maybe I should go back to putting 11.2 on my iPhone, but I mean, it's fine. I got a bunch of USB-C chargers here, and when I want fast charging, right now I'm fine with the cable, and I'm using the Boost Up primarily when I'm on the nightstand when we're watching a movie or a TV show, and I want to quickly top up my iPhone before I, listen to some music or read a book and want some. My Brain FM, fancy brain audio
What
app.
is it? The neural network music, right?
Yeah. I want my iPhone to be charged, to be, to have like at least 50% at night because I fall asleep with that kind of audio going on, or I read articles with that focus type of music. It's not really music, it's a bunch of sounds. But I want my iPhone to be charged at night. So I'm using the Boost Up on my nightstand, and I don't really need the fast charging. But that's going to be nice when the 11.2 ships. 0.2, 11.2, not 0.3. I wonder when 0.3 will go out, because Apple seems to be really fast with these betas and this iOS 11 release cycle this year. And I wonder what kind of feature we're going to get in 11.3.
HomePod support?
Yeah,
but the HomePod is supposed to be shipping like next month.
It's not. I don't think it's gonna.
You don't think it's gonna?
No, I think 2018.
There's no way they miss Christmas. He said.
No, but it's too late for
future follow up.
December's too late for Christmas. Like if you want to do the holiday season, December's not the time to release a product.
I mean, it's not November, but it's a hell of a lot better than January. I think they'll make it, but
December 29th.
Whatever. They'll make it. I have faith.
We'll see.
Year of pessimism from Myke.
Hey, no, it's not. Just whatever. Like product releases, and it's not even that important. Like really, HomePod is not actually that important. Yeah. So I just don't. No. I just don't see it. Like the iPhone has been taking center stage. They got a lot of stuff going on. Like, do I think that the iMac and the HomePod could move? Yeah, I do think they could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have one quick comment about the case situation that I have going on here. So I think I mentioned on the show that I ordered the Spigen case, the see-through super thin case, and it turns out that it was basically making the grip situation worse because the glass of the iPhone 10 is actually grippier than the smooth plastic of this case. So I ordered because my iPhone 10 already sort of slipped out of my pocket twice.
No.
I ordered the Apple silicone case. I have a black one right here. All these cases work with the Qi charging, so it's fine. The Apple case does sort of remove the effect of holding this beautiful glass object.
Doesn't it?
it kind of sort of dampens the excitement of holding the iPhone 10, but I also don't want to end up with a broken iPhone 10.
Yeah.
And as long as at the bottom it doesn't interfere with swiping from the bottom edge, because it doesn't cover the bezel of what's left of the bezel on the bottom edge. It only covers the sides, and it does, it sort of breaks the illusion a little bit, but it's fine. I don't want to have a broken iPhone 10.
I was thinking about this, right? I was going through this exact same thought. Like, the illusion will fade away, and then it'll just become the phone again. And I would like my phone to continue working past that point. And again, we all have Apple Care Plus. I still just don't want to have to go through it. So
yeah, because it's gonna be sad anyway. Even if you have Apple Care Plus, you're still gonna break your iPhone.
I mean, it's like if you have the Apple Store to get my phone fixed.
Like having insurance on your car doesn't mean it's fine to get into an accident. It's the same.
Yeah. I drive with my eyes closed. I have insurance.
Yeah, it's fine. I have insurance. Whatever. No, it doesn't work like that.
There was one more note before we move on about Control Center that somebody brought up in the chat room. The iPhone 10 has those 3D touch shortcuts on the lock screen for flashlight and camera, which I actually really like. It's great to launch the camera quickly. Those aren't on the iPhone 8 or previous phones. I think is a concession that Control Center is too far away. If you need flashlight and camera, and those are the two things you want really quickly, then just put them on the lock screen. That's an okay trade-off on the lock screen. Like I said, I'm using those and I like it. I don't really have the desire to customize them, though. I've heard from some people who would like to swap out flashlight with something else, for example. But it's kind of Apple meeting users halfway. Like, okay, these are maybe the two most common things in Control Center, and here you go. But I still think they got work to do.
Yeah, I've seen people say that, like, oh, what if we can do that clicking thing? Why don't we just do like a 3D touch on the home indicator to bring up Control Center on multitasking? The reason that you shouldn't do that is because I will then be clicking that constantly to go to home again. Like, it will be super easy to slide back into that old idea, right? Like, if I now have a pod that I can click, I mean, let alone the fact that you will always activate a UI thing in an application that you don't mean to, and you'll never actually really get your finger right over the right place. But if I have to start clicking again on something right in the middle of the screen, I'm going to be doing it constantly, and it's not going to be giving me what I want. I don't think that's the right idea.
If you press too hard on the very bottom edge of the iPhone, there's the risk of your iPhone doing a backflip. If you're holding your iPhone with one hand and you press hard and it just does a 180, you don't want to do that. So I don't think 3D Touch at the very bottom of the iPhone 10 is the solution.
All right, before we go to our first break, does Google Docs have drag and drop, guys?
No.
But
another Google app just got support for drag and drop on iOS 11.
Yep.
I saw it in my updates. Google Photos supports in some shape or form drag and drop now. So it seems like slowly Google is adopting iOS 11 features. I have no idea when Google Docs, if ever, is going to get the iPhone, the drag and drop stuff. Or the iPhone 10
the iPhone 10 support, which it also still doesn't have. Come on, Google. Yeah. Come on, we believe in you, Google.
Yeah.
All right, today's show is brought to you by our friends at Eero. With Eero, you never need to think about Wi-Fi again because they have created the dream setup. It is a fast, reliable connection that you can get throughout your house, even in the backyard. And now is the best time to get on board with Eero as they have their brand new super slick second-generation devices. Eero have now introduced their tri-band second-gen model along with Eero Beacon, allowing you to build a Wi-Fi system that's perfectly tailored to your home. This new Eero includes a third 5 GHz radio, which makes the system twice as fast as it was before. You can do more than ever. Whatever your needs, Eero can blanket your entire home in fast, reliable Wi-Fi. The new Eero also includes a thread radio, which lets you connect to low-power devices such as locks, doorbells, and more. And they have the new Eero Beacon as well, which helps round out the whole system. This is just something that you can plug straight into the wall. You can have as many beacons as you want throughout the house. And as long as you have an Eero device, it helps it just make your beautiful Wi-Fi mesh no matter where you want to go. It really, really is fantastic. And it even includes a built-in LED night light in all the beacons as well with an ambient light sensor. So it's doing double duty in your house, which is fantastic. Now, Stephen, I believe that you at your house is blanketed in wonderful Wi-Fi because of Eero.
It's great. You can walk around and those spots in the house that the previous router couldn't reach, those dark hidey corners it reaches, because you have more than one base station to share the load, and it's easy to set up. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to have good coverage with Eero.
They have amazing customer support as well. You can call and get a hold of a Wi-Fi expert in just 30 seconds with Eero. Their new system starts at $399 for a second-gen Eero and 2 beacons, which is everything you're going to need to get started. But if you want to buy more beacons to extend the coverage further, super easy to do, just to add them in. Listeners of this show can get free overnight shipping to the US or Canada when you go to Eero.com, that's EERO.com, and use the promo code CONNECTED. That's Eero.com with the promo code CONNECTED for free overnight shipping. We thank Eero for their support of this show and Relay FM. So Clips has been updated. Version 2 of Clips has brought with it a few things, and I just wanted to mention, because I don't necessarily see myself using this app any more than I've used it before, but I was impressed by playing around with it. Like, there's a lot of UI refinement, so the app looks really great. It looks great on the iPhone 10. And the iPhone 10 also has these things called selfie scenes, which it uses a lot of the true depth stuff to put you into these like green screen environments, right? So like you are there, but the backgrounds have been replaced, and there are like comic book worlds and space worlds, and there's Star Wars content as well. It's really fun. If you have an iPhone 10, it's free. I think you should just download it and play around with it, because it's just a nice little tech demo, if anything else. And they have a emoji sticker universe, which I feel right at home in.
That's Jeremy Burgess' bedroom.
Yes,
that's where the scene takes place. I think it's a really nice update. They managed to make a lot of the UI elements a lot more clear. Like they're using a lot more text labels in place of just icons, for example. I think that makes using the app a lot easier, especially this kind of app which is aimed at the less tech savvy maybe users. You don't wanna these are different users than the folks who use Final Cut or even iMovie to an extent. So I think it's a very clever update. I don't use Clips. I have no need for this kind of social sharing with putting myself into a Tokyo-like environment. But it's a cool demo. I was honestly expecting this kind of stuff to be part of the camera experience. And I could see how maybe in iOS 12 there could be like a portrait camera extension point for developers to make these cool effects and allow users to take, effect-based portrait selfies in the camera. I could see like developers being able to write their own scenes, maybe using SyncIt or some other iOS API. And there's an extension, and you can switch scenes directly from the camera app instead of using Clips. That could be fun.
Yeah, most definitely. And again, like, I know these things are tricky, and this probably wasn't what they expected, but an emoji should be in this app, right? Like, it should be everywhere.
Yeah, especially because it's the whole avatar kit private API, which I have one of the Mr. Rambo as a Animoji Studio, which is this custom app that you need to download and install via Xcode with a Mac.
Which we don't necessarily endorse that you do. This is not an official thing by the Connected podcast. Just wanted to put that out there.
Do you need the disclaimer? It's not like you're going to break your phone or something. It's like...
Well, okay, but the thing is like... I love Rambo, he's a great guy, but like I wouldn't want to recommend that people just download software which hasn't necessarily gone through an approval process.
Sure. All right. Yeah, I get it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. I get it. Yeah. But I have Animoji Studio, so unless Mr. Rambo is looking at my camera as I'm making stupid faces while I'm trying to be a panda or a pig, I mean, I don't think it does, but it's very fun because you can make videos as long as you want. You're not limited to 10 seconds, and you can share them with extensions, and you can record the audio of your iPhone, and it doesn't even, the latest version on GitHub, it doesn't even pause system audio. So today I took a very stupid Animoji video with I believe in a thing called Love by the Darkness playing in the background, and I was the chicken, and I sent the video to you both and to Sylvia, and Sylvia disapproved, whereas Myke laughed at the video.
I loved it.
Yeah, thank you, Myke. I appreciate it. Anyway, Avatar Kit should be a thing on iOS.
This is the app that should exist. I wish that he was able to release this on the App Store. Like, I want this app to exist because it's so nice. Even just like from a design perspective, it's nicely done, right? Like, so it's just like, why can't we have this? I would like this. Yeah, I think it's a political thing, like in that Apple wants the iMessage app to be used, which I understand. Like I understand that why you would want that, because like you if you're Apple, maybe it's time for the iMessage app store to get a little bit more love, and this is a way to do that.
My colleagues in the Valley call this a growth hack.
Your colleagues in the Valley. Interesting. Wow. Interesting. I wasn't aware of that. But yes, I guess, do you know what? I guess this is a growth hack.
Yeah.
So do we want to talk more about the iPhone?
Nah.
Even more?
We're done.
Okay. There's more to talk about? Okay.
There's more to talk about. So I thought we could expand upon our initial thoughts from last week's show. And there was something that I was really... not really struggling with, but really trying to understand. And Syracuse had said something on ATP, and it really summed up what I was feeling. So I've been using reduced motion on iPhones since it's been a thing. I really didn't care for a lot of the animations in iOS 7, 8, 9, and 10. But on the iPhone 10, reduced motion is super janky. So if you have it enabled and you swipe up to go home, the animation starts. So like the app sort of lifts from the frame of the phone and then just crossfades, and it's very jarring. It feels like it's not quite right, and so I turned it off because that was really distracting. And I kind of figured, well, I'm not going to like this, and I'll just wait for them to fix reduced motion. But what I've come to realize, and what John said that I agree with, is that I don't mind the animations as much on the iPhone 10 because I am causing them to happen. So when you press the home button and the app zooms out back in, or zooms in back into its little container, I didn't cause that to happen. The home button didn't kick off that animation. But if I'm swiping up and the app follows my touch and then I let go and it just continues its course back into its little app icon, then that feels more organic, and it feels like I am not watching an animation, I am causing an animation. And that may sound like a silly distinction, but I think it's really important because it has let me be okay with all the animations in this phone. Now, yes, I wish they were faster, and yes, some of them are, like if you swipe home and then go in the dock, like the app goes up and then gets sucked back down, it looks really stupid. But
then the app kind of stretches, the icon stretches, which is so weird.
It's really weird. But all in all, I think it's a better feeling sort of interaction for me, at least, than on previous phones. So like I will check out reduced motion again at some point in the future if they fix the weird crossfade thing. But until then, if that day ever comes, I think I'm okay with it disabled. Any thoughts?
No.
Neither
of us.
You guys like the animations. You like the animations.
Yeah.
This is the part of the new iOS and new iPhone discussions that I struggle to relate to, like the RSI and the animations. I totally understand, but I don't have these problems. So I'm just listening and thinking of you as you talk, Steven.
Lucky you, huh? Young man.
Look, no, it's not that. It's, anything I'm going to say, it's going to sound wrong. So yes, Steven, I understand.
What about the notification privacy deal? So this pre-existed, but Touch ID 2 made it so fast it was basically useless. On the 10, your notifications are locked. So it just says, you have a new iMessage from Federico Vitici, but the content of that message is not visible unless the phone is authenticated with Face ID. I think that's how it ships out of the box, I think. But I have disabled it. I found that to be slow, and if I just want to glance at my phone and like tap it to wake it up, I want to see what's there. I'm not in an open office environment. I'm not leaving my phone out whether people see it. Like I don't have those privacy concerns, so I felt like I could set it back to the old way. And I'm wondering if I'm a weirdo for that, or like I appreciate that it's cool, but I don't have the compelling need for it. What about the two of you?
So I love the option. I really, really like it. But I disabled it yesterday because I ran into a problem. So as I think I've mentioned before, I do a lot of driving every single week. And when I'm driving, my girlfriend is in the passenger seat. And I delegated the role of checking important notifications to her. And sometimes you guys don't even know, but it's Sylvia replying to you because I tell her what to reply.
I like to try and forget about this. I really wish you'd stop bringing it up.
Well, you're never going to forget about this, so I'm sorry.
Had.
Because anyway, so we tried over the past week to, like, I'm driving and she's holding the iPhone to my face and I have attention awareness turned on, which is super dangerous because you're looking at the road and suddenly there's an iPhone in front of your face and your girlfriend's saying unlock and holding the iPhone, and she gets upset because it doesn't unlock because I'm looking at the road and not at the iPhone. So I had to disable the privacy notification privacy feature yesterday. Because Sylvia needed to reply to a bunch of messages from John, and John was totally aware of this delegation going on, so it's fine. He knows. But I was thinking that it's never gonna happen. But there should be like, you know how there's do not disturb while driving mode. Mm-hmm. I kind of wish just for me, if Apple would make a feature just for me, which is like girlfriend mode while driving, where the iPhone detects that I'm driving, it's in the car, but also enables some features just for my girlfriend, which is in the passenger, she's in the passenger seat, she can do stuff with my iPhone. That's never gonna happen. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do because I really love the feature, but also Sylvia does a lot of replying and liking things and checking emails as I'm driving.
Wait, did you say liking things?
Also, yeah.
I need to understand. I need you to give me an example in which this would need to happen.
For example, maybe Ryan or John or you send me something and she gives the little tap back on my message.
Oh, I thought you meant like a tweet. I was like, I don't understand why this is the thing that needs to occur.
Sometimes I have notifications for replies from people I follow, and the Twitter app tends to send you notifications when, like,
wow.
Twitter says things maybe important people. I think it's just people I interact with the most. So if like maybe Steven mentions me in something and Sylvia sees the notification and then I tell her, well, put a like on that tweet, so it's good social interaction. It's good social behavior to like things from your friends.
You don't want to fave and drive. I mean, that's just irresponsible.
It's not fave, it's a like, actually. So I feel I'm compelled to correct you. But anyway, this is a real problem. Like, I'm in the car. I don't want to look at the iPhone. I love the privacy features, but also I have another person taking care of my iPhone. So I'm not sure. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
I have left the notification privacy on because I don't have any of these situations that I need to be concerned about. I actually quite like it. Mm-hmm. I like that it stacks the messages, honestly. Like, so the first time that I look at it, I get a view of what's happening, and then it recognizes me and then expands them all. I like that. I actually kind of like that.
What about attention awareness? So you can unlock your phone normally where you need to be making eye contact with the robot inside of it, or you can basically just have it as it sees your face to unlock. That's an accessibility feature. I've read some people turning it on because they wear sunglasses all the time and it doesn't work or something. I've had no problems with it. I've left this on the way it comes, but I don't have any need to turn it off. I know you guys are just wearing sunglasses all the time, inside, outside, just 24/7. Is that an issue?
No, I mean, I love the feature. I'm totally about eye contact. And like, I love the fact that I can look at the phone and the iPhone knows and it does different things depending on my attention. I think it's awesome. So I want to keep that on. It's really well done. Yeah.
You two are really going for the titles today. I can feel it. Feel it.
It's a race to the top.
Uh-huh.
All right. So let's talk about the horizontal swipey multitasking. So you have multitasking where you drag up and hold or do like a semicircle. There's like 5 different ways to enter.
There's like 70, and people keep telling you all of them. I have been told about the one true way to activate multitasking constantly for the last week. Like, everybody has their own way, and all of them seem to be the best.
That's weird, right? It's weird that it's so sloppy. Like you'd think there's like one path to do this, but no, there's 100. Anyways.
Yeah, I think there is one, but I think the animation is so slow that people are able to do their own gestures, and then by the time they finish their gesture, they think it's done, but it was already been activated. It just takes a while to like kick in.
So I'm still kind of doing the swipe from the right, bottom right corner occasionally, but I've tried to use the official Apple way of just swipe up and hold, and I think it takes some practice, but I think it's fine. The pause, even if conceptually I don't like the idea of introducing a pause in a gesture, it's not so terrible. Like in practice, I've been going back and forth with my method, which is the best one, Myke, by the way, and the official one. And,
thanks for letting me know.
And the difference, I mean, it's not as bad as I imagined when I first devised my best method. So I'm probably gonna use the Apple one because it works okay.
Yeah, it's the mail app of gestures. It's a little plain. Not a lot of frills, but it works every time. That's what you're saying.
That's the great analogy. Yes.
And the swipey one, the half circle is like airmail. Like it's flashy and has a bunch of integrations, but then it crashes when you send it.
Does it have a bunch of that? That's totally not.
I don't know. It broke down a little bit on me, I'll admit. So there's all of that world. There's that world of like the card UI multitasking situation, but you can also horizontally swipe on the home indicator. And I think the idea is like move between like your most recent couple of apps. I think I said on last week's show that was super great setting up a phone. It's having like one password and like then blipping back to the app I was in and back and forth. There's some weirdness there though, and I didn't know what it was doing until like 3 days ago, and then I realized what it was doing, and I felt like my brain had become unbroken. So if you think about those, the most recent app is sort of on the right. And then you move to the left or down through your other most recent apps, sort of in reverse chronological order. When you first start, though, the app you're in is, if you move to the left, you can move back to the right and get back to the previous one. But there's only like a window of about 5 seconds, and then it all resets, and the app you're in now is the rightmost app. So if you're fast enough, you can move to the left and then back to the right. But if you take too long and one password, copying your password, then the app to the right's now on the left. And it's once you understand what it's doing, then it is more usable. But it took a while for me to realize, like, okay, after some period of time, it's about 5 seconds, then the stack sort of resets. And I don't really understand why. Like, I guess
so. There's a tiny asterisk here, that even if it's less than 5 seconds, but if you interact with the app that you just switched to, so like if you tap or if you scroll, it's going to become the most recently used app. So I think the idea is we're going to give you a window, it's like 4 to 5 seconds, and you can keep the same order of the apps that you saw when you first opened the switcher. So you can swipe left and right. So you either, for the position to be reset, so for the second app to become the most recently used one, you either have to wait 5 seconds, or you can swipe, wait a second, interact with the app, and then it becomes the most recently used one. So it depends on time and interaction. It kind of reminds me in a different way of the old iOS 9 split view app switcher that sort of tried to account for the idea of user interaction. What is the last app that the user actually put in split view? It's sort of the same idea. It's looking for time and it's looking for interactions. So you either wait or you interact with the second app, and then it becomes the first one again. It's kind of complicated to explain. Yeah.
Does this differ from the iPad one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
of course it does.
Hold on. Maybe so the on iOS 11 on the iPad, there's still some weird things going on. Not with the main app switcher, but with a Command tab app switcher.
Oh, I don't want to talk about that. But like, because you can do the 4-finger swipe left and right on the iPad, right? And I guess it's the same kind of thing, because I know that if I do that, I can go between applications, and sometimes I'm going left and sometimes I'm going right. So I expect it's a similar thing, but I don't even want to get into Command tab today.
Okay.
I don't have it in me, Federico.
Okay. All right. Okay. Sure. So I want to. Do we have any other thoughts about the? I guess we need to talk about the size of the phone compared to the Plus. If we have any more thoughts on that, because I've been thinking about this, and I've been looking at the rumors of Apple working on 3 new iPhones next year. One of them being the 10 Plus. Let's call it that. And I keep thinking that while I love the iPhone 10. As soon as Apple has the 10 Plus, I'm gonna jump on that because I want the big screen. But
it's for the same reason we did it in the first place. It's the same reasons. Yeah.
For now, I'm not having any particular issues when it comes to like the amount of the number of tweets or emails or messages that I can see in a single screen.
Yeah,
it's the same, and I don't use my iPhone in landscape mode, so it's fine. No other thoughts on this. I don't know about you guys.
I got used to it really quickly, and that hasn't changed for me. Like, it feels very natural, and did from like within the first hour of using it. Like, I adapted incredibly quickly to the screen size. That's more what I'm focused on rather than the physical size. Physical size is kind of whatever, but it was all about the screen size, and it just feels as good. It feels as big. I'm totally fine with it. I've
gotten used to it as well pretty quickly, and I'm really on the fence about a bigger 10. Just for the reaching now is basically the way it was on the Plus. Like, to reach Control Center is more or less what it was to reach the top of the Plus phone. But I don't know if I want a phone that I've got to go further than that. And a 10 Plus would assumingly have further reach to get to those upper edges. Now, if it came with a version of iOS that made sense on big phones, maybe I'd feel differently, and I may feel differently once I see it. But as of right now, I'm really happy with, I have basically the same screen size, roughly, that I had before, but in a form factor that's much more compact and is, nicer in the pocket and all that stuff. So I'm really happy. I don't find myself longing for the days of the Plus Club because, like Myke, I get the benefits of that with this phone, and I don't know if the trade-offs for an even bigger phone would be worth it. I guess we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But for now, I know I'm not looking at the 8 Plus, wondering what our life together would have been like, because I'm really happy with the 10.
I've been trying to explain the iPhone 10 to my friends, which I think is interesting because each one of them seems to be attracted to a different feature of the iPhone. So generally speaking, the screen is always the first reaction. They look at the screen and they go like, oh my God, it's all screen. Then they look at the bottom and there's no home button. And every single one of them has asked me, so how do you unlock the phone and how do you close apps? And by close apps, they mean opening the app switcher and force quitting all of the apps, because people do that. So there's nothing I can do that they're beyond saving at this point. And so everybody seems to be interested in how do you replace the home button. And when you explain the little home bar at the bottom, they seem to be getting the idea, and they are impressed by the screen. What I think is a little more challenging is explaining the benefits of OLED compared to LCD. So I've been as a demo, because explaining white color and explaining HDR is basically impossible for people who don't necessarily care about these details. But I've been using the true black backgrounds in some iPhone apps as an example. So I'm holding the iPhone and I'm opening like the grocery app that I'm using. It's got a black background, and I go like, take a look at the top where the notch should be, and you cannot see where the screen ends and where the notch begins. And they all go like, oh yeah, that's totally right. And some of them have, as a comparison, they bring up like a black photo on their iPhone 7 or iPhone 6s, and they compare the black, and they all go like, yes, it like I can totally see the difference now. So that's pretty awesome. Wireless charging, also a big thumbs up when it comes to demo. I have a I've been basically my bedroom has sort of become like a museum. There's like a guided tour, and whenever a friend comes over, I like go visit my nightstand. You can see a wireless charger there. I can put my iPhone on top of the little pad, and it charges. So like I'm giving these tours of the iPhone 10 environment, which they like the idea of just putting your iPhone on a little surface and it charges, which is pretty cool. And finally, of course, everybody asks about the battery because iOS 11 has been such a huge problem for people when it comes to battery life. And as I said last week, portrait selfies are by far the best demo for the iPhone 10. I know that the iPhone 8 also has the same camera, but nobody cares about the iPhone 8. Everybody just wants to look at the iPhone X, as they call it. And they are impressed with the selfies. I know that they're not the best quality. There's problems with the depth and the blur and the bokeh, whatever. They are impressed with the fact that they can look sexier or more. That's basically what people do, right? That's what. Come on, let's just say that's what people do. Both men and women. That's what they do with the selfies. They want to look better. They want to look sexier when they send each other messages.
Yes.
So.
That is how I feel when I send you my selfies. That is very true.
Yeah, that's why we put them on the show page last week.
Yeah, and in people's apps,
get that out into the world.
Sexier.
Well, I mean, these we can get into the philosophical aspects here, but I think that honestly, looking, but yeah, because if you read, for example, like Freud, you could argue that But anyway,
Freud on
what
selfies.
Are we doing?
I mean, I'm just arguing that. There's always in the back of your mind, wanting to look better, social mechanics and all kind of stuff. Anyway, you look better with the iPhone 10 selfie camera. So I think that a lot of people can relate to that, and it makes for a fantastic demo, even if it's not perfect from a photographic point of view. That's what I'm saying.
I wanted to just add just a couple of quick things. One, I have noticed the non-responsiveness in the cold. This weekend I was out, weather's changing here. I was trying to type on the keyboard and it was missing a bunch of keys. And I was at brunch with a friend who also has the iPhone 10 and the exact same thing was happening to him. So this is a real thing. I mean, Apple have already said they're going to fix it in software, which I believe, but it is something that I have now observed. And I can't remember the other thing that I was going to say, so I guess we're just going to move on. Today's episode is also brought to you by Squarespace. Enter the offer code WORLD at checkout and you'll get 10% off your first purchase. Make your next move with Squarespace. They let you easily create the website that you want for your next bright idea. With the ability to grab a unique domain name, take advantage of beautiful award-winning templates, and also have access to 24/7 customer support, Squarespace are the only one platform that will let you take your great ideas and let them shine. There's nothing to install, there are no patches to worry about, there's no upgrades needed. You don't have to worry about any of this stuff with Squarespace. They've got it covered for you. They just want to give you a place for you to do your great work rather than having to deal with all of the minutiae of getting a website set up. Whether you want to create a blog, portfolio, online store, just about any type of website you can imagine, Squarespace has all of the tools that you need to put it online. You can sign up for a trial today with no credit card required by going to squarespace.com. Their plans start at just $12 a month, and you can get 10% off your first purchase when you use the offer code WORLD at checkout. You'll also be showing your support for this show, so that's 10% off with the offer code WORLD at checkout. We thank Squarespace for the continued support of this show. Squarespace, make your next move, make your next website. So in the ongoing saga of is workflow alive or is workflow dead, turns out workflow is alive and kicking, some would even say.
Yeah. It got a surprise update. I mean, at this point, every workflow update is a surprise update. Yep. But it got a 1.7.7.
Ooh, everyone's favorite update, the 177.
Oh, okay. Is that does that have a meaning?
It's Freud.
That number?
Freud said it.
Okay. Okay. So this update brings support for the iPhone 10, iOS 11, and some basic drag and drop on the iPad to bring in content into your workflows. I was happy to see this because it means that the workflow team is still working on this app, and I wanna quickly talk about the drag and drop stuff on the iPad. I don't know if you guys have played with workflow. I assume you, Myke, have, because you
I have.
are also a fan of this application.
Mm-hmm.
Steven, I'm not sure.
I played with it. No, it's great.
You play. Okay, all right. So yeah, I'm just saying you like Automator and that kind of stuff.
I do like Automator. The iPhone 10 screenshot deal that's on that blog post that I wrote on Control Center, I made that with workflow, with the iPhone 10 mask workflow that one of your writers put together. I don't remember who. Sorry.
Yeah, Graham on
Graham
Twitter.
did it.
One of your
It's
squad.
great.
Former Mac Stories writer.
Yeah, the blogger formerly known as Graham.
He's still known as Graham. But so you can now, on the iPad with iOS 11, you can now pick something up. It can be text, it can be an image, it can be a link, whatever, and you can drop it on top of the little play button with the play bar at the top of the workflow editor. So there's like a blue bar with a play button in the middle. You can drop stuff there, and if you do, that item, that content will become the input item of a workflow. So for example, let's say that you have a workflow that just does, for example, quick look. It brings up a quick look preview. You can pick up an image from the Photos app, you drop it into the workflow, and the quick look preview will show you a full screen preview of the image. And you can apply this method to all kinds of items that you can drag and drop on iOS 11. I have a workflow for example, picking up a link from Safari, and I drop it there and it saves the link to my Trello board for Club Mac Stories. I have another that gets the Markdown from Bear, the note-taking app, that sends does a bunch of things for Markdown that I need and sends them to Ulysses. So I think it's interesting that the workflow has been able to take advantage of this API, but I'm a little surprised, honestly, that I'm both surprised and not surprised when I think about it. Not surprised because I know that this is not a major update. This is not a major rewrite of the app. It's still the same workflow that Apple acquired. They're sort of they're improving a lot of the existing aspects, and they're fixing things that were broken. And so the app is still heavily based on the content graph engine that was in place before Apple bought Workflow. But I'm surprised that the drag and drop framework on iOS 11 is an extremely rich framework in that every item, for example, that you pick up and drop into another application is advertised by the system in multiple formats. So a link, for example, it can be just a link, or it can be the title of the web page and the link, or an image that you pick up from a web page in Safari can be both a JPEG and a link, and so forth for rich text and PDF documents. There's multiple flavors of an item baked into the little thing that you drag. And Workflow doesn't see all these variations at all. It only sees one. Workflow infers what the data should be, and it doesn't allow you to inspect the data items contained within the drag item.
Which feels like something Workflow would do.
Yeah, basically, it does this behind the scenes. It assumes for you, well, you picked up an image from Safari. Of course, you just want the JPEG. And I ran into these problems when I was testing Workflow with Mail, for example. I couldn't extract the message link to an individual email message, which I know that the drag and drop API exposes to compatible apps, but Workflow doesn't want to get that link. It only gets, I think, the subject line of the message. So I ran into these limitations already, and I know why Workflow has to do this now, because this is now Workflow 2.0. It's not a completely new app, but the power user inside of me just kind of wishes that this was possible.
Yeah, I will say that I was surprised that the app wasn't the drag and drop didn't work the way that I had expected. Right, I was dragging an image onto a workflow in the main screen, and that doesn't do anything, right? You have to open the workflow and drop it into that specific area where the play button is, which is fine. I mean, and I just had to get used to that, and I'm more than anything, I'm happy that it exists, right? I have a workflow that just very simply removes photo metadata, right? If I want to share them or whatever, if I'm taking photos in my home or something because of Gary the privacy clown. So I can very easily now just open Photos and I just grab the image and just drag it onto the workflow, which works great for me. It's an easier way of doing it than to just open the photo picker, honestly. Like I'm usually starting with the image in that case rather than opening workflow in the beginning, so I'm already there, I'll just use it. So I mean, it works nicely, but there is some more stuff that I would love to see the app do, and honestly, considering where we are right now, I do believe that there will be further development, further interesting development for this application, purely because they did something, right? Like it's always, you just kind of want to see signs of life, and the fact that this has occurred in any way continues to fill me with optimism that the application will have a life in some manner, whether it's continuing to advance as itself or to become a more integrated part of iOS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to that, I wanted to add that I feel pretty good about thinking that the workflow team is working on a major, substantial update to workflow that is not 1.7.7. This version that we got last week isn't the kind of major update that required 5 months of work since iOS 11 came out. So I have a pretty good feeling about the fact that some new version of workflow, 2.0 or maybe not even 2.0, maybe a system feature, it exists and it's currently being developed inside Apple. But what we don't know is that going to be another app on the App Store subject to API limitations like other third-party apps, or is that going to be a native automation layer on top of iOS, built right inside of iOS as a system app, as a system framework? This is the kind of discussion that we had when Workflow was acquired a few months ago, and it's still not clear what Apple's plans are here. I just hope that the sort of the guiding light for the Workflow team and Apple should be the fact that a lot of Pro users, especially on the iPad, they depend on this kind of app, on Workflow, to be able to work better on iOS. And they shouldn't forget just, maybe just how much goodwill is there to be lost by turning Workflow into a simplified recipe in the sense of automation app. I hope that they keep in mind that the iPad, especially now that sales are picking up again and the iPad Pro idea seems to be working, a lot of those Pro users, they want more and they want more powerful stuff. They don't want to have... There's an argument to be made for making automation easier for everyone, and I totally get it. But also the iPad Pro, it's right there in the name. It's for Pro users, for people who want to work on this device. So whatever new version they're working on, I hope they're not forced to remove a bunch of advanced features or to cut back on the web API stuff. I think we're gonna see. I hope, and we're gonna see a new workflow with a new design, with new features eventually. But my concern is that maybe there's some pressure internally to make that a even more simplified version of Workflow, which is already, it's by far the easiest automation system to get started with. Even compared to Automator, and it doesn't have shell actions, but it's already quite simple. I don't want to see Apple saying, well, Workflow was too complicated and now we made it easier, but you cannot do web APIs anymore. You cannot do inter-app communication anymore.
Actually, weirdly, the further we go from the acquisition, the more confident I am in Workflow's long-lasting life. Mm-hmm. Because, when this happened, we laid out, or at least you laid out, Federico, a bunch of different scenarios, and I actually think that we are in one of the best case scenario groups currently.
Yes, we are.
Which is that the app is continuing to be updated. It is not being updated at the pace that it was previously, which was what we expected, but it is being updated and it is taking advantage of new system features. Like, I can't ask for more than that, honestly. Really, ideally, all I want is maintenance. That's all I want. Like, Because I very rarely even open the workflow app, right? Like I operate most of my workflows from the notification center widget, honestly. And that works great for me. And as long as that stuff keeps working, I'm going to be really happy. But the fact that they're actually adding in new features and supporting new system stuff and the new UI things in the iPhone 10, and like, great, this is fantastic. Like, I'm super, super happy about it. So I continue to be optimistic and have faith in Workflow's long and fruitful life that we'll see before it.
Yeah. As far as Workflow is concerned, we are at this point in the good timeline. Not the best one, but also not the dark one.
Not the dark one.
Right now, we cannot complain right now. That's all I'm saying.
We cannot. We're in the good timeline. All right. Should we take a break?
Yes.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Hover. Building your online identity has never been more important. And with Hover, you can find the domain that shows the world who you are and what you're passionate about. So I think it's safe to say that all of us have passions for things, right? Like we have or have started in the past lots of blogs, we have podcasts and many creative endeavors. And I mean, I think that one of the most important parts of any new creative project is to go and get that domain name, right? You have to get the domain name. You want it. You need the name. You need the brand. I mean, I know that I've felt that way with Relay FM, right? Like one of the big things for us when we were naming our company was, are the domains available? And if the domain was available, that's a name we could use. It is that important. You can have a great name, you can have a great idea, but you also need to have a great domain name so people, when they find you online, they know what they're looking for. And there is nowhere better than Hover. They have best-in-class customer support. They also have their Hover Connect feature, which I love, which allows you to connect your domain name to many website builders in just a few clicks. They even have free Whois privacy as well, so the bad guys don't get your information. Hover have over 400 domain extensions that you can choose from to help you build your identity online. There's a lot of choices to help you find the perfect domain name, but let's say, for example, you're a designer or another type of creative professional. You could use .design instead of the .com or .biz or .co domain names. By using .design, you're telling everyone exactly what you do. Stand out and build your online identity with the perfect domain name for you or your business. New customers can even get 10% off any of the domain extensions, over 400 domain extensions that Hover offers, by going to hover.com/connected. That's 10% off for new customers at hover.com/connected. And thanks to Hover for their support of this show and Relay FM. So we are about to talk about the Amazon Echo assistant and service and tubes, just because this topic is going to be so fraught with naming stuff. I am throwing an amnesty with the name, so if you want to use the name, the word that begins and ends in A, you can use it freely, and I am just letting everybody know right now, if they need to go and mute any speaker systems or etc., you can do that.
I'm going to mute mine. I'm going to go mute mine right now. Hang on.
That's perfect. You mute yours. Mine is muted already. We're all muted. All right. If you want to listen to this and you're scared, you should mute too. I see the floor to you all.
Alexa, 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 Alexa.
That's not necessary, though.
Good.
Is it?
I've always wanted to do this on a podcast. Alexa. Oh, man, that feels so good. But this isn't,
I give you this. You just don't go crazy with it.
Oh, okay.
Alexa, buy a washing machine.
See, now this is...
Alexa, why are we talking about Alexa today?
You wanted to.
Well,
there's a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of news, right?
So these... I saw a few Alexa-powered devices a few weeks ago. I think it was in October. And we wanted to talk about this as it relates to the idea of the Amazon Echo as an ecosystem of products and services. So the first one is the Garmin Speak, which is this tiny 1.5 inches little display that you put in your car. It's got like a suction cup attachment to the windshield, and it gives you directions using and it's got lane guidance type of navigation. It uses an app called Garmin Speak, which integrates with the Alexa web services. and it allows you to use, of course, it's the first device with Alexa and navigation built into the same product, and it also can use some Amazon Echo skills. So the web-based features that you enable on your Amazon account, you can take advantage of some of those using the Garmin Speak in your car. So, for example, you can save new tasks into Todoist while you're driving, totally hands-free, just by talking to Alexa in the car, which I think it's fascinating. But of course, as other API-based Alexa products, you cannot control Spotify playback or any other playback that I think is not the Amazon Music service, which is the limitation that we've been talking about over and over. That these devices, these third-party Amazon Echo clients, they cannot control music playback through Spotify, which I think arguably is the most popular one. It doesn't support the Garmin Speak doesn't support texting or placing phone calls using Alexa, which is still exclusive to the home, the official Amazon Echo speakers. And the second one, Amazon tried to do the Alexa portable speaker before with the Echo Tap, maybe was that the name? It was a Bluetooth speaker that nobody basically bought. And now I think Logitech, through their Ultimate Ears company, they are releasing these two speakers, the Blast and the Mega Blast, which kind of sounds like a Pokemon evolution, but it's actually two speakers. So Blast and Mega Blast, they retail for $229 and $299 respectively, and they are portable speakers with Wi-Fi chips inside and the usual microphone array running around the speaker that allows you to call up Alexa from a portable Bluetooth device. They got these microphones under the fabric of the speaker, which I think looks pretty cool. And of course, the Blast and the Mega Blast. I know a bunch of friends who have the old version. I just love calling them with the names.
Is so amazing.
The Mega Blast. It's like if Blastoise had a passion for music, it would totally rock the Mega Blast. And so they say it's the loudest speaker ever produced by Ultimate Ears. But of course, you can use Alexa, you can use the skills. And Spotify playback is absent from the speakers as well. You cannot.
Why is this? Do you think? Like, what is Spotify's problem here?
I don't think it's Spotify's problem. I think it's Amazon's problem. That maybe they saw this kind of scenario play out with the same growth hack mindset that we talked about Apple, that maybe if we limit the API so it doesn't work with competing music services, well, suddenly everyone is going to sign up for Amazon Music. That's my idea. Well, of course, it didn't happen, even though Amazon Music has some pretty cool features, I think. They have the lyrics with the, what's it called, X-ray functionality, something like that, borrowed from the Kindle, I think. But of course, it's nearly not as popular as Spotify or Apple Music. But it's particularly, it's such a huge problem that you're selling a speaker with Amazon Echo integration and it doesn't support Spotify, a music speaker that doesn't work with the most popular music streaming service in the world. It's a contradictory experience in that sense. And so, they also come with, I just looked at the notes again. They also have this, I think it's very interesting. They have, like a charging station. It's called the Power Up. So you just place the speaker vertically on top of the station and it charges. I think it's super cool. Anyway, all of this, because we wanted to talk about the Echo, and there's new Echoes that you guys, I think, received. And there's this whole idea of Alexa not just as the thing that you have in your kitchen, but as a wider ecosystem of devices and services and third-party skills all living together in and outside the house, which I think it's an interesting concept. And it consider from this perspective of it's not just one device that you put in a room in your house. It's more of a bunch of web services, not even smartphone integrations, but web integrations, all working together, all living together for this ecosystem of a smart assistant. And I wanted to talk about that as it correlates to Siri, which is kind of taking the opposite direction with the HomePod and the iPhone.
The opposite, worse direction, you mean?
Yeah. So, what about the new Echo? The little one. It's just called the Echo.
Little baby Echo. I'm a big fan. So I had the full size plastic thing. I did the black cloth cover. It looks really nice. It's in our kitchen. I know we talked about in the show, like, is it going to get dirty or whatever? So far, mine's been okay, but it's kind of far away from the stove or any food prep area. I think it looks a lot nicer. It, from a functionality standpoint, it seems to hear us just as well. I do really miss the ring. So on the tall Echo, to change the volume, the whole top of it rotated around. So you could just like reach over and turn it, and the LED showed you the volume. It was a really nice interaction. And the new Echo just uses like plus and minus buttons. And of course, you can change the volume with your voice. But I really like the ring, and it's a little disappointing that it's gone. But it's fine. The buttons are fine, and they work well. They feel good. So I mean, I think that's all positive, and I think it sounds better. This was actually a point of contention in my household. Amazon has had, best I can tell, 2 software updates for this Echo, tweaking the sound. And I think when we first unboxed ours, it was really kind of muddy and like bass heavy and sort of sounded not great. And there was an update, and I think it sounds better than the tall Echo. My wife disagrees, and she prefers the way the old Echo sounded. I think it's just because she was used to it. The old Echo lacked some of the low end the new one has, so it did sound sort of crisper in a way, but I think the new one overall sounds better. And the tall Echo is now in our bedroom, and we're listening to music back there. And I want to talk about music in a minute, but so far I've been really happy with it. I like that it looks less like a tech product in our kitchen, and that was sort of the big reason for me updating. So yeah, thumbs up from the Hackett household, I think.
I'm fine. I mean, it's fine. I honestly, I haven't really noticed any difference to it in any major way, right? Like, I, like you, miss the ring thing, and like rather than the buttons. I like the size because it's just smaller, it's cuter, it's out of the way more. I like the new material because I think it's better for a kitchen environment. I have no real way of discerning any sound quality difference. I can't tell if it's any different. Maybe I just don't have the ears for that. The biggest effect that this has had is it's put another Echo in my house. So we did the Echo Shuffle, and we now have an Echo in every room. So I have one in the living room / kitchen, one in my office, and one in our bedroom. And we really like that a lot because now we have complete full house coverage without needing to like shout at an Echo. Basically any room that we're going to be in where we need to control something like the lights, or we're asking things like, what's the weather like? We now have an Echo there, so we can just talk to it. So it's making that stuff even better. I know it's silly to have like so many of these devices, but the more likely you are to have coverage wherever you want to get the attention of the thing, the more likely you are to use it, I think. So I'm really happy with that. And the new Echo is fine. It has done exactly what I wanted. I wasn't expecting anything more out of it than this, honestly. It's been great.
Yeah. So I spoke a lot about like our dance of music services. We're using Spotify. My wife and I now are both using Apple Music, but I was still paying for Spotify just for the Echoes. And so I found it's kind of actually hard to find on Amazon's website, but they have a $3.99 a month Echo only Amazon Music plan. That's been really great. We haven't found anything that we want to listen to that Amazon Music plan doesn't have. The free Amazon Music plan is garbage, but $4 a month, you get a bunch of good stuff. So I thought, great, I'm paying $4 a month. This is awesome. We get the new Echo. The old Echo gets demoted to the bedroom, and the new Echo's in the kitchen. And I'm in the kitchen like the next day. I'm like, hey, Alexa, play a song. And it says, there's no music service set up. What do you want to do? Well, that's weird. So I open the app. And then I discovered that $3.99 a month is locked to one Echo. And if you want to use it with more than one Echo, which we do now, it's $7.99 a month. So now paying $7.99 a month, have this on 2 Echoes. It's still cheaper than Spotify. Spotify felt like overkill for this because we don't use any of the playlist stuff or any of the Discover Weekly, like Spotify, its only interaction in our household was through the Echo. So the Amazon Music one's a couple of bucks cheaper. Like, this is not about the $2 a month. It's really just kind of understanding like what these features are, because Amazon struggles, I think, in explaining the different music plans that it offers. And like, once you're in though, it's cool. So like, you know, I'm in the Echo in the kitchen, and it says, hey, you know, you can upgrade from $3.99 to $7.99 on the month. Just ask the Echo to do that. And so I said, hey, you know, upgrade my music plan, and it wanted to confirm my, you know, 4-digit PIN, and it did, and then we're off to the races. So we're using that Amazon Music Echo only plan. Still using Apple Music, and that feels like a good setup for our family. And you know, I'm not using any of like the third-party Alexa products, so I'm not running into like, well, Spotify works on this one and not this one. So I'm kind of sidestepping all of that, but it's still really complicated. Like, there's no great. I mean, Spotify is the closest, I guess, but there's no like one music service that's like a surefire winner if you are a multi-platform family or a multi-platform user even. So, you know, Spotify is great unless you have a third-party Echo deal, or you're on the Mac a lot and don't like the Mac app. Like I don't like the Mac app. Apple Music's really awesome, but you have to have a HomePod, and no one, you know, with an Echo, I think is going to move to a HomePod for Siri. So like, it's still a very like complicated matrix of decisions to pick the music streaming service that's right. And so maybe a lot of people do like what we do and just bunt and pay for two, which is ridiculous. But that's kind of where we are, and I think this is where we'll stay. We like having the two big Echoes and having, you know, music in the bedroom and stuff, but it's definitely was something I wasn't expecting to have to deal with again. I thought we were kind of settled, but that's where we are, and you know, hopefully Amazon can do a better job in the future at making the music side a little bit simpler for its users.
Yeah, I just checked again, and a lot of these companies like Garmin, and there's another one that The Verge is writing about today, they also have another Alexa accessory for the car, which is cheaper. It's like a little dongle that you attach to your car's Bluetooth, and it brings Alexa integration. It's $49. All these companies are saying that Spotify integration is in the works. So it seems that maybe Amazon changed their mind and now gonna allow in the Alexa Web Services API Spotify playback. So that's gonna be interesting, because it means that, you know, I feel like once I have Spotify integration on all of these devices, whether it's the Sonos, which I also kind of want to play with, or these car accessories or portable speakers, I would feel even more compelled to use Spotify everywhere and to use Alexa everywhere, rather than having to just talk to my future maybe HomePod just in the living room. And this is the bigger theme that I feel, especially about music, which, you know, of course, for many, it's the most important web service they sign up for. It's the music streaming service that they want to use. And right. From this perspective, it feels like Spotify is way ahead of Apple, in the sense of Spotify is everywhere. And once it'll even be supported by Alexa devices, then you will have an assistant with a music streaming service that you can use everywhere. You can have Spotify on your PlayStation, on your iPhone, on your TV, on your portable speaker, on your kitchen speaker. You can have Spotify everywhere. And I feel like Apple should probably do the same for Apple Music. They have Apple Music for Android, which was a great surprise and also a great decision, because, you know, music is universal and music should be everywhere. And that's, you know, as a concept, music should be on every device that you own. But from a technical perspective, it means that your music streaming service should be able to run on every single device that you have. That's, you know, I prefer the Amazon approach here of the assistant, and therefore the music that you ask for through an assistant is not just, you know, trapped inside your iPhone, and, you know, all interactions go through the iPhone, whether it's Siri on the Apple Watch or the you know, of course, the iPhone and the HomePod, that, you know, judging from the, you know, from the SDK that Apple has, you know, the developer documentation, the HomePod is gonna have to talk to the iPhone if you want to have like SiriKit extensions. This iPhone-centric world, I don't think it's well suited for the kind of feature that is now becoming the present of assistants that live in the cloud. All the integrations are web-based. They don't need a local binary on your iPhone with the local SiriKit extension. They can just always work. And the music streaming service, which again, I believe is the most important feature, it follows you everywhere. Once you set up Spotify on one device, all that intelligence, all those, playlists and learning, it all happens in the Spotify service. And the Spotify service, you can take it with you anywhere you want to use it. And I think that's a powerful idea that maybe Apple is missing out on. That's the negative maybe conclusion. The more positive take is Apple users, folks who buy Apple products, they don't care about third-party stuff. They don't care about the Amazon Echo. They don't care about the Garmin Speak because they have cars with CarPlay. They have Apple Watches. They have HomePods. They have iPhones and iPads and Apple TV. So once you have everything Apple, it doesn't really matter that it's not a music streaming service that works everywhere because your everywhere is just Apple products. So I can see why folks who think, well, this is a way overblown discussion. It doesn't matter because in the Apple ecosystem, you're well served by Apple Music and Siri. And that is true. I just wonder if maybe that's the right investment for the future of where things are going, and if Apple is interested at all in that kind of future. Is that fair?
I think it's very fair, and I hold a lot of the same concerns, but also come to the same conclusion that you do. It's like the people that this stuff matters to probably won't buy a HomePod, like me, right? Like for what I'm using my my voice assistant system for at home. I don't need a HomePod for that because I very rarely listen to music on it. Most of the time, I'm connecting to Bluetooth to play podcasts from my phone, and it doesn't look like the HomePod will have any better way to do that with Overcast, right? It would just still probably be just connect via Bluetooth. If you can even do that, off the top of my head, I don't know if you can with the HomePod. I assume you can, but I don't know. So the Echo does great for that. I mean, okay, yeah, the HomePod can control all of my HomeKit devices, but why would I replace it? Amazon can do that. Plus, Amazon, the Echo hooks into IFTTT, and I don't imagine the HomePod will. Right, so it's just stuff like that where I'm like, I see why a lot of people will want the HomePod because they don't want an Echo and they would like to have a speaker that plays their music from Apple Music. That would be great, right? Like that, I know that's why people are going to buy it, but I don't care about those things, which is why I care about the Echo, because it makes most sense for my personal usage.
Yeah, I agree. I think the HomePod, if anything, will be one of those Apple products that I probably pick up so we can talk about it, and then I return it, taking advantage of Apple's lenient return policy.
I'm pleased that you'll do it because I don't want to.
Yeah. Well, and maybe out here. Is it where there's multiple countries at launch, wasn't it? I don't remember.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But yeah, I agree. I have too much in the Echo ecosystem now to swap in the HomePod. It would solve my music streaming service duplicity, but it would not take over the other stuff. HomeKit doesn't quite do everything I have set up there. I have a lot of IFT stuff now, like you said. The Echo's too ingrained in our household to move away from it.
Most of this discussion was prompted by my ongoing situation with using both Spotify and Apple Music. I tweeted about this yesterday. I still cannot choose, and there's parts of Apple Music that I really like. Of course, being able to invoke music via Siri on my iPhone, and the Apple Watch integration is better. And I prefer the way that it looks, and it's got lyrics, which is a huge part of how I like to listen to music. But Spotify is just smarter and the recommendations are better. And, I'm the type of user of music fan that wants to discover new music every week. I want to listen to new stuff, and I want my girlfriend and I to share the kind of experience of discovering a new song. And the recommendations that Apple Music gives me every week with the favorites mix and especially the new music mix, they're not nearly as accurate or as honestly mind-blowing, like the way that Spotify knows me. And this goes back to the acquisition of Spotify of the Echo Nest, the music API platform that they acquired years ago. Such a great investment in that platform. And that's the reason why Spotify is just so much better. They have years and honestly, I think billions of data points on what a song is like, what genre, what kind of chords that a song contains. So it's just more intelligent, and the recommendations, once you start feeding data into Spotify, it just becomes eerily accurate. And so I cannot choose, but when I think about it, the fact that Spotify is everywhere and that I can take this intelligence everywhere, that's that I'm using Spotify is on my home screen now. I have Apple Music on the second screen on my iPhone, and it was the reason why I put the Amazon Echo back in my living room. I don't know. It's
so what you're saying is you have a day streaming service and a night streaming service.
Yes, that's what it's the multi music lifestyle. It's an extension of the multipad lifestyle. It's trickling down into music streaming services, into speakers, into all kinds of things could benefit from the multi approach.
The multi life. You gotta live the multi life.
Myke, take us home. I think we're done.
If you want to find our show notes this week, relay.fm/connected/168. Thanks again to Eero, Squarespace, and Hover for supporting this week's show. If you want to find Federico online, he is at Vitici, Stephen is at ISMH, and they write at macstories.net and 512pixels.net, respectively. My name is at Myke, I guess. My word, what am I doing? I'm at Myke, IMYKE. I'm not going to be here next week. I'm taking a vacation, which I think my brain requires right now. I think I just can't do this anymore, so I'm going to go away for a bit. But I'll be back the week after. And of course, I'm sure you'll be hearing many tales of my demise. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, say goodbye, guys.
Arrivederci.
Adios.